Hello, how y'all doing? This is about as decent as this is going to get, trying to find a spot to make a video on because the wind is blowing and so on and so forth. But I'm going to talk about in this video that blacks are still displaced. Now, back in the day, 1940s and 50s, there were a lot of black neighborhoods and all around the country that were displaced, torn down to make way for white developments or to make way for highways or whatever. And that is still happening. Blacks are the first to be displaced. But this time, let me backtrack. Traditionally, moderately poor whites and moderately poor blacks, they depended on Section 8 to help them with the rent. But now they have this thing called Section 100, which is where the federal government pays 100% of the Central Americans' rent. And probably all these, mainly illegals, okay? The government pays 100% of the rent of the illegals. I'm telling you what I know. Plus they get food stamps, $300 per person per child, which blacks don't get. I mean, black people would be lucky to get $227 and 3 children. Be lucky to get that, and maybe they won't get that. But the Mexicans get $300 per person per child. Now, why the federal government's doing that for people who are not even supposed to be in this country, I don't know. All I can think of is to replace the workforce, the black workforce. That's all I can think of. So they don't have anything to do with their welfare check but buy a nice car or buy a nice truck. Okay? Government pays the mortgage payment. They buy a house, rent per room. They charge the government for another welfare recipient, whatever the mortgage is. The government pays it per room. The first people to be displaced are the blacks. I mean, in every metropolitan area in the United States, it's the same story. Kicks black out of housing, whether it's moderate income housing, and they come up with 101 excuses why they won't rent to blacks. Your credit is bad, etc., etc. Okay, but they will rent to the Central Americans who have no credit rating, had no social security number. They will rent to them because the government pays 100% of their rent. Now, all the housing is going to Central American illegals. All of it. They're kicking blacks out first, and if the poor whites and the moderate income whites are in the foray, they kick them out too. For example, this state, West Virginia, who's never been too high on thinking anyway, they had a housing development that was for poor blacks and poor whites. They tore that down and built a brand new housing developments for the Syrians of all warmongering people. Okay, brand new townhouses, and they're going to build a mosque right beside it. Okay, for the Syrians, the warmongering Syrians who hate America. And the West Virginia is paying for it too. Now, West Virginia won't even spend that kind of money on its natives. Okay, but they're spending it on these warmongering Syrians, okay? Now, Appalachia traditionally has no money for anybody. At least that's what they tell us. Kentucky, for example, put all these people from the Sudan in this housing complex, gave them a job working at a plant. Now, why didn't Kentucky give those jobs to the whites that are unemployed? That makes no sense. But you know what? Kentucky is not too much on thinking either. They always elect idiots for governors. Okay? Now, you take like people from the third world, they only take a shower like every 3 months, 6 months, or maybe every 6 months. Okay, I know what I'm talking about, okay? But blacks are still being displaced in every major city because I know people from other states that tell me the same thing. Blacks are out of housing. They put Central Americans in the house, Central American illegals in the housing, or they put Syrians in the houses, or they put Sudanese in housing. I mean, I know some people from other states, and they have all told me the same thing. Now, why the government's paying their rent and giving them all this food stamps, I don't know. All I can think of is to replace the black workforce. That's all I can think of. But look, how are you going to avoid all of this? Look at California. Let me back up. Look at California. They kicked the blacks out of all the housing, put the Central American gangs in the housing, and now the blacks are on Skid Row. Okay, the blacks are on Skid Row. They kicked the blacks out of all the housing in California, kicked the whites out of all the housing in California. I would like to tell any black person, any white person in California, there is no housing for you. Okay, there is none. But how can you, as a black American, and frankly as a white American, how can you avoid this? Well, you must buy your own property. People say, well, you got to pay taxes on property. Of course you do. You're paying rent every month for an apartment. You're paying a mortgage every month for a house. Of course you have to pay property taxes on the property, idiot. I don't care how much property you buy. If you buy a lot or if you buy an acre, you got to pay taxes on that thing every year. Okay, just save your money. It's no time to be stupid. We're being displaced, y'all. The way you can avoid being displaced is to buy your property. You can build your own third world house on the property. Okay? What is the third world house? Just brick and straw. Okay? But I advise all of you blacks and poor whites to buy your own property. Buy a lot. Buy a cheap lot. Buy a cheap property. It's everywhere in the United States. Have a nice day.